Here he is. Andy, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, good to be back. This has been we said about probably close to 10 years. Can that be right?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely
Nuts.
crazy. And I think that's a great place to start because it seems to me like obviously dry January, so many more people are trying the alcohol-free life than before. But yeah, I mean, I've sort of haven't really drunk. I'm not officially alcohol-free, but I think my last drink was probably about 3 months ago. But it just feels like it's so the whole landscape has changed so much. And you were, dare I say it, a bit of a trailblazer, Andy.
Yes, the godfather of the alcohol-free movement have been described. Um, yeah, and I guess that was because, again, wind the clock back almost 13 years when I actually first went alcohol-free. I came at it from a completely different angle, i.e., it wasn't about addiction and then recovery. That wasn't my story at all. It was very much an average drinker, what I describe as being in the middle lane, someone that would drink averagely, heavily, sometimes not at all, sometimes moderately.
Mm.
Basically describes most people's relationship with alcohol. And I decided to take a break just for performance gains more than anything else. But there were so many wins to that we can get into. But so it's a fresh message, really. It was all about let's just take a break and see how you feel. And actually, if you feel really good, why not continue? And it took me quite a long while for people to get that message because at the start they were a bit like, "What do you mean you don't drink? You must have a problem." I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I just wanted to stop." People are like, I don't really understand. You either drink or you've got a problem and you don't drink. There's nothing in between. So really for the last 10 years, it's been carving out this whole incredible space in the middle lane, which is now massive, huge in terms of just alcohol-free alternatives, but also the space. If you go online now, there are thousands and thousands of, alcohol-free influencers and podcasts and all of these wonderful things that just didn't exist. So yeah, I feel really grateful to have been a little tiny part and continuing part of that story.
And were you surprised? I guess like it's interesting actually. I know someone else who's followed a similar path to you, but as you said, a little bit further down the line in terms of being an influence. And I think she was shocked at just how much demand there was for the sort of content that she was putting out there. And I guess it was that the same for you because when you first start doing this, because culturally we're so geared up to go down the pub and hang out, and that's how we socialize. It does feel like quite a lonely path when you start to step away from that, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think again where things have changed a little because alcohol-free alternatives are so available now, you can still do all the things you traditionally did
Mm,
without alcohol and still feel part of the crowd, right? You can have your
yeah.
0.0 Guinness or whatever it might be. Whereas again, 10 years ago, you had to stand there like a bit of a plum with a sparkling water or an orange
Yeah.
juice. You know what I mean? It was like a siren would go off in the pub
Mm.
that he's not drinking, which would invite tons of social pressure. So I think
Yeah.
that sort of thing has changed. But that being said, and tastes are changing, aren't they? People I think are more interested in doing different things. I see, online and around so many wonderful organizations getting together for sunrise swims, runs. You see
Mm.
these wonderful displays of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of younger people, dare I say, sort of 20, 30, 5 a.m. clubs, these type of things
Mm.
where people are getting together in different ways and doing different things. They're not just sitting in the pub, just drinking like 5 pints for the sake of it and then feeling like shit the next day and the day after that and the day after that. I think people have figured it out. Actually, there's more to this short and precious life than feeling under par all the time.
Yeah. That's right. And we have, as you know, I'm in Portugal now. We have a lovely Wednesday swim club where we go down on a Wednesday to the beach, have a dip for 20 minutes or so, and then have a coffee on the beach afterwards. And it is consistently my favorite social activity of the week, precisely because we're not drinking in the pub, but we're moving around, and you obviously got those endorphins afterwards. But it sort of still feels like that sort of thing isn't the conventional way to socialize, and it's so lovely.
Yeah, completely. I mean, our world is still geared up for alcohol. I mean, just
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want to do, there's alcohol available. But when you get a bit of distance from that, it is completely nuts when you think about it. We
Yeah.
have this drug that's so prevalent in our society that does so much damage. But forget about the damage. I don't really bang that drum. My drum is always the same. It prevents us being our best, and actually, by removing it, we unleash a whole new level of life performance. We're better at everything, and I'll stand behind that. Better parents, better at jobs, better people. We've got
Mm.
more time, we've got more energy, we've got more zest. That ambition comes bouncing back, that confidence returns that was always there, that alcohol's chips away at for decades or two. Like on every level, we improve when we remove alcohol, yet we've slipped into this society where it's just everywhere in everything, from advertising to a day that ends in Y, to a stressful day, to a celebration, to a commiseration. It's completely nuts when you get a little bit of distance from it. I'm like head in hands, constantly going, what are we doing? This is
Yeah.
completely nuts.
I think that's why when I first got into the biohacking world, and you may have noticed, obviously, Andy, when you came on this podcast, for the first 9 years, it was Zestology, and now it's
Yeah.
Biohacking News by Zestology. Simply because, a bit like you with the alcohol-free world, when I started this podcast, there was only one biohacking podcast in the UK, and that was mine. And now there's millions, so I needed to make it a little bit more obvious to people what I actually did. But that's one of the things when I started going to these conferences and summits. In the US, especially, actually, I was so excited by the fact that there were sort of relatively cool people having a great time hanging out, and it didn't necessarily involve booze. That's very exciting to me and quite novel.
Yeah, and we're seeing so much more of that now. And talking podcasts, I was lucky enough to appear on Rich Roll's podcast a couple of times, big podcast in the US that many people might be familiar with. And he's in our documentary. We have a documentary coming out in spring this year, which is called Going Dry, which is all about taking a break from alcohol, effectively, like a Netflix style movie kind of edge to it. But Rich's reflection to me was, off podcast, but on camera, was that he's had many, many people on his podcast, right? Some of the greatest names, movers, shakers, thought leaders, athletes in the world. And by and large, they don't drink. And I think there's this new messaging that's starting to get through. Actually, yeah, when you look through the weeds and you look at some of the really prominent people in our world, your worlds, actually, they don't drink. They stopped drinking a long while ago because they've realized the same thing that I realized. Actually, to perform at an optimal level, there's no room for alcohol in any shape or form, unless it's very, very moderate, the occasional one. But anyone that has an average relationship with alcohol would benefit so much from taking a break. And that's my approach all the time. It's not about like wagging the finger or telling people off. It's like, maybe you've got no concept at the level that your life could be at if you just removed alcohol. So why not give it a go type of approach, as opposed to it has to be a forever thing. But how do you know unless you try?
Yeah. And so this is a great time to talk to you, because obviously it's dry January, and or a lot of people are trying dry January for the first time. And since we're sort of reflecting what's going on in the news, and there is a lot of that in the news, and a lot of people are sort of nursing a month-long hangover. Would you be able to sort of reintroduce to my audience what you do and what they might want to try in January?
Yeah, I guess for the best part of 10 years now, I've been involved in creating loads of different initiatives all around encouraging people to take a break from alcohol. I have an app called Dryy, Dryy, community, challenges, documentaries, books, all of it. And that same energy, because it was such a transformation in my own life. I was stuck as a middle lane drinker, overweight, unfit, unhealthy, unmotivated. Life had plateaued somewhat. I couldn't quite figure it out. And like most people, I tried everything from ice baths to meditation to nutrition to movement. I was inconsistent in everything because I was still drinking. And it was the last thing I ever challenged, because I was a broker in the city and it was part of who I was and what I did. And when I finally had the courage to think, actually, I wonder, maybe it's this alcohol thing that's actually getting in the way. And when I removed it, everything fell into place. The consistency came back. So I was moving my body more, eating better. Weight fell off me, 42 pounds in the end. Resting heart rate went from 68 back down to athlete 42. Well, it still is 10 years later. My business grew 7 times bigger in half the time because I was always on the ball. My relationships blossomed. I looked like a different person, completely began to heal inside and outside, and just went, this is amazing, right? There's got to be millions and millions and millions of people like me, average drinkers that haven't slipped into dependency. How can I inspire them to take a break? And really, that's the adventure that I've been on. So Dry Jan has really grown as part of that process as well, right? So it was really early in Dry Jan's life, and now that grows and grows and grows. But there's a few things around Dry Jan. Really, all the best wins are in Dry Jan, Feb, and March. Is the truth. If you really want to hack this and get all the wins and gains, it's a longer break. I don't think Jan's quite long enough. It's amazing and it's wonderful, but really that longer break gives you a chance to experience all the incredible wins that come from going alcohol free, such as more time, more energy, more vibrancy, ambition coming back, confidence returning, better relationships, better skin. you tend to see that in those longer wins. So if there was one tip for dry Jan, it's don't stop at dry Jan, make it a dry Jan, Feb and March.
Yeah. That's a good one. And then I think the thing that I always struggled with, or in fact, it's maybe just taken me a lot of time to align, is the fact that my closest mates, my oldest mates, are still pretty big drinkers. And on those really special days, like, for example, we all like to go, we're members at the cricket, and we all go to a few days of the cricket each year. And traditionally, for many years, it's always been a very long boozy session that starts about 11 in the morning and finishes about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I've found up until 5 or 6 now, I have a great time just around the rest. Then I start to notice, oh, they're way more drunk than me. And then about 8 o'clock, it's like, see you fellas, you're off, you know. And it's just, you just realize that at a certain point they're on a completely different level. But that does take a while to adjust to the fact that you're having a different sort of fun.
Yeah, and I think that's hard. And the truth is this, you've got to own it. I've got to own the fact that me sitting at the cricket all day with mates that are drinking all day, and I'm just not going. Is the truth of it, right? Because the only thing that would have made that day entertaining for me would to be at the same level of them. So I'd have to drink, and I don't want to drink because, you know, I can weigh up the pros and cons of that. If I have that drink, I'm going to be rubbish at everything for a few days. Now, if you could genuinely pigeonhole that and be really, really skillful with it, and once a year, for example, or twice a year, go, right, this is the little pocket of time that I'm going to have a couple of drinks, and I know what the knock-on consequences of that, but actually in evaluation, I'm okay for that. Do you know what? I'm totally flexible in people's relationship with alcohol because it's theirs, not mine. But I wouldn't manage that well because it'd be that one day and then I'd feel rubbish the next day. So I'd have a drink then. And then before I know it, I'd be back to square one. So for me, it's like, actually, on reflection, not what am I missing, i.e. that one day at the cricket with my mates, what am I gaining by not drinking? I tell you what I'm gaining every single day of feeling better, more vibrancy, more connection, new ways of socializing that wouldn't have existed if I was still an average drinker, new ways to connect with friends, new friends doing different things. So when you compare the two, you get a much clearer reflection of actually, for me, it's like, I'm just not going to do those things anymore. Yes, there's a little bit of me that would still maybe like to sit over the cricket on a sunny day and you know, have those 7 or 8 drinks and disappear into the world and the madness of it all. But actually, on reflection, do I really want that in my life when I'm gaining so much more without it? I'm not giving up all of that for that one day in the sunshine, which is the truth of it. Without the alcohol, it's not even enjoyable. So what's the point?
Yeah. Well, it is enjoyable, but I found a way to manage it. But yes, I know it's just an adjustment, and I have found a way to still enjoy it. But I agree, and there are other activities that you just don't bother to turn up to now.
Yeah, and everyone's different. And yeah, for me, a day at the cricket with drunken people, that's just not happening.
And you now train other coaches, don't you, as well?
Yeah, and that's been a big part of what I do, really, because I fell into executive coaching. That was never meant to be a thing. I was lucky to train with a guy called John Grinder, who was the co-founder of NLP, which is a coaching approach.
That's what I trained in. Yeah.
And he was the legend, right? He's the OG, he's the co-founder of it. He trained Anthony Robbins, big life coach that I loved. And I thought, you know, some 14 years ago, imagine if I could train with the guy that trained Anthony Robbins, thinking I'm going to have to fly to LA and it's going to be $100,000 to get in the room. Next course, Croydon, which amazed me. I was like, what is he doing in Croydon? But anyway, it was meant to be. And did that course really to understand how my brain worked. And it was the greatest gift I've ever given myself. I was still drinking back then. And what I realized quite quickly with coaching and why I train coaches now is that the best client you'll ever have is you. So I just started to coach myself. I took all the tools and techniques, and it was transformative in my life. And then in my business, took the same set of skills, started to coach all my brokers. I had a brokerage at the time. We grew that business, as mentioned. I ended up changing my relationship with alcohol, my relationship with food. Everything started to change, really. But it was all born out of that coaching experience. So I fell in love with it. And eventually, I never, ever thought I'd be able to walk away from my big corporate career because the golden handcuffs were pretty locked in tight. And then 6-7 years ago, through coaching and being able to build coaching businesses and lots of different things around that, was able to step away. And a big part of that now is training coaches. But I coach all the time, right? I'm in the city every other day at some of the big high performance trading houses, broking houses, coaching their elite professionals. So I absolutely love the space. It's a gift, and the more people that can train as coaches, the better, just for their personal development alone, their personal careers, or to go out into the world and help others.
Brilliant. We must have, when we met before, because we met in person and recorded this before, didn't we? We must have figured out the NLP connection, because obviously I trained with Bandler, not Grinder, years
The other
ago.
half of NLP.
Yeah, the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And subsequently wrote books on NLP and all sorts, and also have done some coaching in the space as well. And I guess when we met before, you were still partly in your old career and partly sort of transitioning into this one, were you?
Yeah, exactly. I was sort of doing everything in stealth mode. Literally, I remember doing my favorite stealth mode was I did a podcast in the office. And bearing in mind at this stage, I'm running this whole brokerage, and my mind really is just trying to inspire people to take a break from alcohol. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I agreed to do this podcast out the US, and it's panic stations. I don't know where I'm going to do this podcast. So I've got to do it in stealth mode. The boardroom's being used. So I ended up going into a broom cupboard. Literally a broom cupboard. I'm not joking. Set up the little laptop in there and a little mic. I'm doing this interview, and then I can hear this commotion outside. The broom cupboard was by the kitchen. One of the other brokers had organized a massive drinks night for all their clients, and all the clients are piling into the kitchen. I can hear it. The volume's going up, the clink of glasses.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm stuck in the broom cupboard. I can't just walk out of the broom cupboard in the middle of this like soiree. So I thought, I'm going to sit it out. I'll sit it out. And honestly, I reckon I sat there. This is after the podcast for about another 45 minutes, and I cracked in the end. I just happened to open this room cupboard into the middle of this room, and you can imagine the looks that I got.
Brilliant.
Yes, I wasn't quite stealthy enough.
Yeah. So you were doing that, and I was obviously working at Sky when we first met.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is slightly off topic, but I guess slightly relevant. I'm interested to know because because that was a corporate career of sorts as well. And my reflection from stepping away from Sky into this world is that I stepped away from time for money, and I mean, it was relatively easy money compared to this sort of world where you sweat for every penny, but it's much more rewarding. How have you found it stepping away from, because I would associate a job with this in the city with great money, regular money, but very intense, to doing what you're doing now, where you have to think of imaginative ways to help people and make a living at the same time?
Completely. It was the greatest gift I ever gave myself. I mean, my values, well, three big values. One is love, first and foremost. Then it's freedom. It's huge on my values list. And then contribution. I wanted the freedom to live life, right? And really experience all of its joys and wonders. And genuinely, I show up every day with that. And entrepreneurship is unbelievably challenging and creative and wonderful. And I just thought, I'm going to put all my life force and energy into doing good in the world, and all the businesses that I'm associated with do good in the world. And to have that freedom to decide my day every single day. Just yesterday, my daughter did her first ever interview, and she's had both parents, I've got two daughters, both parents with them for the last 10 years in everything they do, like that real grounding of love and support. And she did this first interview in this room where I'm doing the podcast, because it was online. I set it all up for her, and I could look from the house into, this is an office in the garden. And I just felt so grateful. Like I'm part of their lives in such a massive way. Like they'll always remember that moment. And I wasn't, running into work and working 12 hours a day and coming home, and we might have been in a bigger house and have bigger cars and going on bigger holidays. Like you just don't need any of those things. And then I meet my colleagues, and they're still stuck in that space, moaning and moaning, yet they've got, more cash in the bank than you can shake a stick at, yet they hate their life and what they don't make any sense. So for me to break free from that has been the greatest gift I've ever given me and my family. And my story into that is removing alcohol. That was definitely the catalyst that gave me the confidence, the courage, as well as coaching, to go on that adventure. And for me, it's a gift. It's not for everyone, but it's certainly a gift for me.
That's awesome. I would reflect on it being similar for us. Obviously, moving from London to Thailand to Portugal has been one major change on the surface, and downsizing considerably as well. But I also think it's not, as you say, it's not for everyone, especially if someone's sort of considering going all or nothing without having a back. I think it's quite good doing it on the side at first for anyone thinking of trying it.
Yeah, and it's that broom cupboard story. The truth is, I decided 8 years before I actually stepped away from broking that I wanted to step away from broking. So it was 8 years of creating businesses, making mistakes, having successes, writing books, starting podcasts, all of that happened part-time. All of that happened part-time alongside that broken career until such a point, at least there was a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So it wasn't a complete, burn bridges, shock to the system, which I think is a mistake for most people. Because had I been in that situation, I think I would have made poor decisions out of fear, as opposed to decisions out of, from a place of courage and also knowledge and understanding. I'd spent 5, 6, 7 years really learning. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I think what is great advice for people: give yourself the time, give yourself the runway. You don't have to quit tomorrow, but put part of your brain out of your existing career into something else and start learning the hard yards, do the training you need to do. That's why, I'm biased, but I think coaching is such a brilliant side skill because it helps your existing career and it opens you up to new opportunities maybe you didn't see before that you can run alongside the career until such a point, like myself, you can step out and do something more, in line with who you are in your life.
And also it's sort of prudent, isn't it? I mean, one more point on this, and it's sort of prudent because sometimes without expecting it in that sort of career, you get a little shove and when you least expected it, whether you like it or not, you're forced to look for a new career anyway. So having another interest on the side, and as I know from a lot of my colleagues who've ended up in, slightly different circumstances over the years, the ones who sort of planned ahead or had other interests are the ones who've sort of seemed to adapt better. And all the better if it's, for us, it's definitely sort of both similar health and wellness type passions, helping others, but also sort of living a sort of healthy life. Then it's a much easier change to make.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. All of that leads on to then. I want to. You've got a can in front of you there for those of us, for those people watching. What's going on? What's the latest business? You've got so many. You've got your fingers in so many pies. Look at that. That's the best product placement I've ever seen there. It's like a Champions League post-match interview. You got your can of Coke there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like one of those football managers that's never out of their football jacket. But yeah, so this is, I mean, it's all linked to my time alcohol free, but one of the guys that I've been doing a lot of work with, a guy called Mike Moody, he completely burnt out. He was a big high flying sort of city professional to the point he couldn't move. He literally was bedbound for about 3 months. His motor system just shut down. Tried to heal himself through the traditional methods, surgeons, all the best of the best. Nothing was doing, so he healed himself holistically, looked around for something to drink. There wasn't anything that didn't pretend to be healthy that actually wasn't. And then wanted to pioneer a new health and wellness drink that's mushroom based. So it's functional. So it gives you a nice energy lift. That's no compromise on health and wellness. But the reason I got involved is that it's really designed to grow a big fund, a foundation. 25% of all net profits go into this foundation for Authentic Brew. And that's what I want to be involved in. I want to try and grow a really big business. I've got if you looked at me and said, what are your goals? I don't have an ambition to grow a really big business. I just don't. I don't need it, right? We've just both had that discussion. But if I could grow a really big business that put a massive chunk of its profits into a foundation that did unbelievable good in the world, then I want to grow that business because I want that foundation to do a lot of unbelievable good in the world. And I see lots of similar products in the energy drinks market, alcohol market, that actually do no good in the world at all, yet generate incredible wealth and don't really do anything with it outside of make their shareholders ridiculously wealthy, which is completely unnecessary anyway. So why not create a brilliant product that's no compromise on health? There's no comparison with it in terms of the market, and actually try and make that really successful and then just give as much of it away as we can to do good in the world. I think for me, that's skillful business. The type of business that I want to be involved in. Plus, it tastes bloody amazing. It's the truth of it. I'll stand behind that all day long. So authenticbrew.com if anyone's interested.
Authentic Brew. Okay, so it's mushrooms. It's basically functional mushrooms to lift you up, make you feel more alert.
So energy. So there's a chaga, lion's mane, reishi. So lion's mane is the brain mushroom. Reishi is the mushroom immortality. How cool is that, by the way? Chaga is all about vibrancy and sort of fire, which I love. It's got L-theanine in, which is really good for our cognitive function. It's got essence of hawthorn, which Chinese medicine call the heart tonic. It's got literally, if you could name some of the world-class, world-leading health ingredients, they're in this can and it tastes amazing. And there's been no compromise. And that's the sort of messaging from the start. It's we're not doing this unless it's premium and it's genuinely good for you. We're not going to put a load of marketing hype around it, and then actually the ingredients are crap if you look inside it, which is the story for most of these things. It's not. It's really world leading. So, and if we can get it to work and it does a lot of good in the world, what a win that is.
Yeah. And you've mentioned values a few times, and that, how important those are, and sort of linking that to NLP. One of the NLP skills or techniques that I really like, or concepts maybe, is logical levels. So this concept that there's things at the bottom of the logical level pyramid that are very easy to change, like our environment and our behavior, and things at the top that may be less easy to change, but often more important, values and beliefs. Is that something you mentioned? Coaching, is that something you work a lot with clients and other people in terms of what are your values, and are you living those values out if you're drinking every night, or if you're working 12 hours a day, or whatever it might be?
That is the work that I do all day long. It's values and beliefs, because ultimately life is a beliefs game anyway. It's a reflection. The external world's a reflection of our internal beliefs. Epictetus taught us this 2000 years ago, who Anthony Robbins quotes a lot in his book, but it really comes back to Stoic philosophy. It's not events that shape our lives, but our beliefs about them. So what I find and what I love about coaching, everything you need is in the room, because it's rarely an external obstacle or circumstance that's preventing someone achieving their goal or overcoming an obstacle. It's usually a bit of limiting thinking. It's a thought that someone's turned into a fact that's not a fact. You just need to challenge it. And I think that's where great coaching comes in. But then also values. I would argue most people on this planet have never, ever really sat down with someone skillful to figure out their own values. And then once you understand your values, you use that as your guiding light to make choices in life. And you tend to make much better choices when they're coming from your values. That's why I listed off my 3 values just earlier, because I'm connecting with them all the time. Because I know if I stay connected to them, I'm much more likely to make better choices and decisions. And I think whether you're a business professional or many of the athletes that I work with, the first thing we do is get aligned with values, and then we help them understand how beliefs work, and then break down any of those limiting beliefs that are in the way. So essentially, that is coaching for me. That's what I do all day long.
That's awesome. Yeah. And once you really look at it with people, a lot of people's top value is love. I mean,
Yeah.
it would almost be a bit weird if it wasn't. And then after that, it is very helpful to figure it out. That's very cool.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that, I do a lot of work with the Professional Footballers Association in their business school. So I've always worked with lots of athletes transitioning their career. So I've worked with some really, really like international Premiership footballers, as well as top business professionals. But what is really interesting about that, occasionally you come across some of these genius types, be it in sport or business, and actually they're happy to put their sport or their business as their top value. And that trumps love for them. It just does, right? They're not wired up the same
Wow.
as us. That's why
Yeah.
they operate at these different levels. And there's, something to their genius that sometimes has those character flaws, where actually they're quite open about it. It's like, no, that supersedes love and relationships for them. It's quite interesting when you see it up close. But in general, you're right. Most people's top value is love. But then I see this all the time. City professionals, for example, that are working 12 hours a day, going out far too much, more so than they need to, not really seeing clients, but constantly out with their colleagues, not being at home enough, not spending enough quality time with their family, tired, jaded, can't be bothered. Again, couple of drinks here, not looking after themselves properly, and actually all the time separating themselves from the most important thing when you do this work, which is love. Therefore, when you see it for what it is, you start to make better choices, because I would argue that is the most important thing in your life. And when it gets misaligned, this is where you see those terrible things that happen, and people undermine their own love on a quest to generate income. If they just paused, did their values work, and had a great conversation with their partner, they might get realigned, and that saves a marriage or a relationship. What a gift that is.
Yeah. But also, I mean, that's really interesting that you found that about athletes. Also, my experience is when if their sport or winning or whatever it might be is more important than love, often it stops them from winning because it's holding them back because it's so bloody important. And when you've got something that's more important than that, then it becomes easier on the football field.
Yeah, you're right. It's sort of troubled genius in there, but I'm with you. I think when you realize, I worked with a guy called Damien Valemse as well. He was brilliant. He was the Springbok fullback, so he's won 2 Rugby World Cups. He's on for a third. He's one of the greatest of all time. He has this lovely saying which I like: rugby is what I do, not who I am. Rugby is what I do, not who I am. And that's the same thing with people with their careers. They lose themselves in their career. They become just a broker, just a trader, just a rugby player, and actually forget what is more important to that. What other roles do you play in life? Father, son, wife, sister, whatever your setup is, I would argue they're way more important than your role in life as a broker, a podcaster, whatever it looks like. And I think that's, again, this all links back to the same type of work. It's that values work. When you start to see that, I think you perform better on the pitch or on the trading floor, because your emotional roller coaster is not as violent. Because it's not like bad day, I'm a bad person. Good day, I'm a good person. It's like, it just wasn't a great day in the office, but I'm still going to go home and be a loving husband or wife or whatever the setup is. So actually with that, the roller coaster is less violent and performance improves. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what about your what biohacks are you into then? And what about your routine? You're obviously, it's not just the fact you've given up booze, you're a healthy living kind of guy. The drink sounds like it's got great, lovely, clean ingredients. What's your daily routine look like?
Yeah, so for me, it's always fasting and exercise. I mean, it doesn't waver. I'm one of these. I constantly play my morning routine. So for me, I don't eat until about midday, in truth. So I like to keep that clean. I play around with authentics, which I really like, authentic brew of the morning. I used to drink a lot of coffee. That's out. Caffeine's gone. Don't like that
Is it?
anymore. Doesn't serve me. Yeah, it doesn't serve me.
Wow.
Everyone's different, aren't they? I'm going to get shot in a minute. People are like, hold on. We're
No
trying to
booze,
take
no
away
coffee, bloody
our
hell.
alcohol. And now he's after our coffee. Jog on. So forgive me. This is just me playing around with it. Like, so yeah, no, the coffee's gone. But then it's always strength training. Strength train pretty much every single day. I have a proper like gym in the house. And that's really important to me. Stretching and strength training, as well as fasting of a morning. I'll swim in there if I can. I walk everywhere if I can. So for me, the real like biohack, which keeps me in really good nick for someone that's 51 now, is strength training, swimming, walking, fasting, nutrition. I play around with that. I've been fully plant-based, went back to, I guess, sort of more of a Mediterranean style nutrition. I'm now back on the plant-based. I just prefer that. That works for me. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. It keeps me in optimal shape and health. So yeah, my biohacks are them. But the key to all of it is consistency. That's the consistency is king. Consistency is queen. If I go in that gym for 20 minutes a day, that's all I do, you'll be in the best condition of your life. I could go in there once a week for an hour and a half. Nah, I think I'd get really average results. So the key is that small and often for me.
And that improves your mood as well, I guess.
Completely. Like you fired up, you go and lift some weights, and I think like it's good to feel strong in your body. I like to feel strong. It just sets up like I'm on a good buzz straight away, full power. Let's go.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Love it. Took me quite a long time to figure that out, but totally agree. But anyway, listen, Andy, it's so good to catch up again. Where can people find out more about you? This is exactly the time when they're interested in your work. So where can they find everything?
AndyRamage.com is the main website, or Dryy App, DRYY. There's an extra Y in the Dryapp.com if you want to check out the app, which is all alcohol-free based. We do training in there and challenges. It's a brilliant community, all online and offline, but predominantly online. Yeah, check out those two places, are the best places. Oh, and the movie's called GoingDryMovie.com. Check that out. It's going to be out in spring, and AuthenticBrew.com. Blimey, I've got a list of things.
I tell you what,
that I need to talk
here
about
are
these
Andy's
days.
sponsors. I love it.
I know. I'm involved in too many things, but yeah, well, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, but congratulations, because I'm so pleased everything's going so well, and it really is great to reconnect and have you on again. So thanks for making the time.
Yeah, and thank you for everything you do and invite me on. Top man.
Cheers, Andy. Fantastic. Thanks very much.
Good.
That's great.
Work.
I'm going to carry on recording because I'll record the intros after we finish. But thank you for that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, great to reconnect. I'm buzzing that
Yeah.
you're in Portugal, right? That's good to know, because that's much more accessible. We're going over to Nazaré. I didn't get to mention
Oh, are
that,
you?
but
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed with 100-foot wave and Nazaré. But one of the big, so that there's only one UK female surfer in the big wave competition. Her name's Laura Crane. Check her out. She's amazing. She's part of Authentic Brew.
Oh, is
So
she? Great.
She's part of the organization. Yeah. So because it's all sponsored by Red Bull, isn't it? Red Bull Monster. And same thing, right? They're all really ethical, the surfers. And they're like, the only sponsors in here are these energy drinks companies, right? And none of us are drinking. None of them are drinking that shit. Do you know what I mean? It's not doing any good for them or the planet. So Laura's really, really into her values. Obviously, this is all line now, but she's like, it's got all those offers under the sun. She doesn't want to work for them. She's like, no, I only want to work with ethical brands. So she's got involved with Authentic Brew. So it's on her surfboard, Authentic Brew logo. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to Nazare to see her, and which I'm super excited about.
Yeah. Well, let us know when you're over here. It's not too far from us. I mean, it's an hour or two, but we've been meaning to got there for ages. And I'd forgotten that we must have chatted about NLP back in the day. But since I saw you, I brought out a book on NLP, which is one of the top NLP books in the world now.
Do you know what? And that's bloody brilliant to know, because every single time I run my training, right? So bear in mind, I train loads of coaches.
Yeah.
They always say to me, what's the best book on NLP? And I'm like, I haven't found a good book on NLP.
Oh, right.
The only book that I recommend is the originals, Structure and Magic 1 and 2, which is a bit difficult unless you're really into it.
Too dense. Yeah,
I haven't, but I struggled. So that's good. Can you let me know what that? I'll go and find it now anyway.
I'll send you a link. But the premise is it's NLP the non-boring way. So I tried to sort of make it a little bit less dense. There's obviously those two books, and then there's Joseph O'Connor's book, which is like a sort of textbook, isn't there? But I just wanted to make it sort of like fun, real world applications of NLP in a quite an easy to read way. So
Would you be interested in, like, I've got these communities and groups, even doing a live Zoomy thing or whatever? We can talk about the book and NLP, because they'll lap it up. Do you know what I mean? They're the type that hoover up books on that.
Yeah, I'm always happy to chat about it. I mean, I love it, and I don't do quite as much behavior change work anymore, because it's focusing a little bit more on health and then helping other authors publish their books. But I love talking about it. So yeah, brilliant.
But it's a win double. I tell you why it's a win double, because loads of them want to publish books as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Because they're all coaches, right? So I'm constantly on them to publish books. So we'll be able to do a bit of a win double around that, no doubt. One other thing as well, just a sort of an aside, and maybe a bit of a quick pro quo around that, because I think that'd be really good. We are looking, just to run some tests anyway. You know, Authentic Greens, the way they sponsor podcast, I don't know, Athletic Greens.
Yeah.
You might try and do something similar with this effectively. So the founder, Mike, who's brilliant, who's an ex former bloody golf professional, but he's brilliant. I told you about his story. His story's brilliant. Yeah. He's really copped onto this. So we almost want to see if we can select a couple of really good podcasts that we could run a test with. So it almost won't be a financial thing that starts like, does this work? Can we skillfully share like a code to your listeners? They get a bit of a result, which is a nice touch. We can track it that end. Is it the sort of thing that's working? If it is, can we set up, is it worth setting up an arrangement? A bit like Athletic did brilliantly. You just get a cut of the commission. So we're sort of in the middle of trying to set that up now. Yeah,
let's know on that. I tend to have, I do have sponsors sort of permanently at the moment.
Do you?
But,
all right.
But I'm also sort of happy to sort of, what we found is, and it may be different for bigger podcasts, but with a sort of medium-sized podcast like mine, if it's a one-off, you don't get a massive amount of traction.
Yeah.
But if you the main sponsor that's been with me for years is Biooptimizers, and just repeat it like you just repeating the same code and the same message every time. People just know to go and get a discount. And then I've had sort of 4 or 5 sort of continuing partnerships like that. So I would say when you're looking for a sponsor, if you can, or when you're looking for a podcast, if you can sort of work with them for a couple of months, that's when it sort of seems to kick in.
What does that look like? Do they pay you? Is it a commission thing, or do they pay you a set monthly fee?
No, they pay
a mixture.
They pay up front. I don't do commission. I can't. It's not enough. Even with like, I mean, even with because they're getting, because what I offer them is also, as well as obviously sales, brand awareness, which is good, but then they also get stuff like meta whitelisting, which is really important. So you can basically, you have a video copy of the podcast, and we provide some reels as well. And then you can use any aspect of that podcast in your own advertising on Meta, which is nice for a lot of brands. But to be honest, a lot of brands that use that tend to have products that are worth more than a beverage. So it may work better for them.
Yeah. All right. That's good to know.
But it's you can charge, and like podcasts charge a lot for that sort of thing. You know, you'd be surprised at how I mean, I've massively upped my prices, and people are still willing to pay it, which
can you
I'm
share what
amazed.
it is? Even
yeah,
if it's
well, I charged $3,500 for that for one episode.
For one episode of advertising.
For one episode of not advertising, that includes like guests coming on to almost like the whole thing, talk about the product, and then meta whitelisting and everything else as well. So yeah.
And then like the sharing of that.
And then also, and that like gets shared through the mailing list and that sort of thing. But then the monthly, this is obviously like not something that I share publicly. The monthly sponsorship's about $1,500, and then that'll be some sort of ad running every week.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's actually $1,500 as well.
And what is your like reach roughly? Like, what does that look like? Downloads?
It's sort of, obviously it varies wildly by day, but it tends to be between 100 and 1,000 listeners a day.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty good. I mean, it used to be more when we met before. It used to be quite a lot more, but there's a lot more podcasts now.
There's bazillions, isn't there, to choose from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, just like stay in touch, and I'm really, really excited to hear about the NLP stuff, because
100%.
It's nice to meet cool NLPers.
Yeah, exactly. Because normally they're proper. That was the thing I found with NLP. They were like loads of, when I first went into it, it was like there's all these NLP geeks that love it, but I'm like, practically you're not using any of this stuff outside of like doing these sort of little ninja, like linguistics on yourself. That was a bit geeky. Yeah, I must admit.
Sort of attracts a lot of weirdos, doesn't it? And the biohacking world was a bit like that 10 years ago, and now it's actually surprisingly cool. But
we will 100%. I'll double back to you on that, and we'll set something up, even if it's like a Zoom, and
that'd be great.
We'll basically do like a little chat like this on Zoom, but we'll make it all about the book. But then I think as part of that, we can have that. It's just a nice segue into what you're actually doing, which is
that'd be great. Yeah. And if it's sort of a joint venture, I'm always happy to like split the proceeds on that as well.
Brilliant. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll come up with a cunning plan. But either way, that would be great value for me and for you. Yeah. That's a really, because we've got about 500 coaches now. I mean, they're not all like active in it, but they've all been through our system. So it's a good squad that are engaged, that would buy books and take courses. They're all over that stuff.
Yeah. And where are you at with your third book?
So I'm at like, I'm going to say rough first draft kind of stage. I've sort of slapped down about 60,000 words that need refined, but it's like my 2026 in that goal is to get that book finished, because I want to catch the wave of the documentary. Basically, the documentary is going to come out somewhere spring, and I know people are then going to be looking around for the book. And I've got two published books, as mentioned. One is the 28-day alcohol-free challenge, which I've got no control over. It's split with One Beer. It's a bit of a waste of time. Yeah. And Let's Do This, which is a similar sort of gig. So I must want my own one to come out in and around that, so I can give it a bit of welly in terms of marketing, advertising, and catches a bit of the wave of the documentary, people watching that, and a bit like what next. And it's sort of like, the same guy's got a book.
Yeah. Where's the documentary going to be?
We don't know. We've had like early discussions all the way through the likes of Netflix. I don't think Netflix is going to take it. They've done a massive deal with Anheuser-Busch, which is a huge, I think it's like the biggest deal ever, which is an alcohol brand. So maybe that's what alcohol do, right? They just sponsor everything. They do it for a reason, right? Yeah. And it stops these sort of things. So, but now we've actually got it. We've got it because we needed them to almost fund it, but we've funded it ourselves. So we can literally go, there's the documentary, go and watch it. Do you want it or not? Right. So I'm assuming that puts you in a completely different footing, because it's not, in theory, this is what it might look like, is go and watch it. If you think that's going to do well on your network, let us know and you can buy it off us. So but worst case, could be best case, we self-publish it, same gig again. We put it out to like YouTube or whatever it is, and stick a little, paywall on it type of thing. So either way, it's going to be out in spring in some shape or form.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, let us know if you ever want to chat about any aspect of the self-publishing, especially the adverts. It's just so good once you get it out there. It's there's no way I could sell a book without advertising on Amazon. It's really excellent.
That's the bit that I looked at, and especially because I've got a whole sort of funnels all over the place. You know, if
Have
like
you?
someone
Me
comes
too.
into my, yeah.
Yeah.
So then that front end book, even if it's a lost leader, it doesn't matter to me,
Yeah.
because there's customer lifetime value potential down the line. So yeah, there's that. Do you know
Yeah.
what? I've got 3 books all in first draft. So I've probably
Have you?
got, yeah, and
Yeah.
I've got a coaching book that is pretty much done. But then I'm like, I've got to get this one out. So I'm sort of flipping between the 3, but there will be 3 in quite quick succession
Oh,
that
bloody
I
hell.
need to get
Yeah.
out. So it
Yeah.
sounds like we need to have a chat about that as well. So I'll
Yeah,
double back
definitely. Yeah.
on all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, do. Yeah. I'm working with Mickey Thomas. Do you remember Mickey Thomas, footballer,
Yeah,
former footballer? I'm working
yeah.
with him at the
Was he
moment on
real
his
like
book.
hard nut, Millwall kind
He
of guy?
wasn't. No, he wasn't. But he went to prison. So even though he was sort of framed, but he.
Oh,
I'd say everyone
yes.
sort of thinks of him as being a hard nut, but actually he's a bit of a softie.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. The book is fantastic. He's such a lovely guy as well. So yeah.
Oh, is he? Oh, good on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
I've got so many coaches that want to write books that
Really.
I think that's a winner. So yeah. I've got a meeting with them all tonight. I've got graduation events. I've got a Coach MBA, which is marketing and business for coaches. So I do the diplomas. I have a marketing and business course. So especially in there, I'm really encouraging them to write a book. I was with a guy today that wants to write a book. So
yeah. Oh, well,
yeah,
that's great. I help them with every aspect of the self-publishing process. So, I don't, just planning, writing, publishing, and then marketing afterwards.
Perfect. That's the game. All right.
Amazing.
I'm all over that for me personally, as well as the team. So leave that with me, and I'll double back. NLP and self-publishing. Will I cram it into the same one, or we'll do 2 things separately?
Yeah. All right. Brilliant. Lovely to chat.
Great work. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Let me know when it's out, and I'll do the usual and promote it and all those wonderful things.
Will do. Brilliant. Thanks, mate.
Legend.
Take care. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.